Joining me now live from Washington, D.C., Democratic U.S. Representative Ted Deutch from District 22, covering parts of Palm Beach and Broward counties. And as always, Congressman, thank you for taking time to be with us. Set the stage for us about what we will hear tonight, what we will hear in the coming weeks, and why, in your judgment and that of Democrats particularly, there are Republicans on this committee, it is so vital for the American public to hear about this. What should we hear? What should be our takeaways?
Well, I think, first of all, thanks for having me. This is a really important night and the start of a really important week to 10 days in the history of our democracy. And this is not a partisan moment. This is a moment where it's important for us to think about just how challenged our democracy was on January 6th, how fragile our democracy is, and we're going to hear from our important to point out, bipartisan January 6th committee that has spent close to a year conducting interviews, doing research with a nonpartisan staff, reviewing thousands and thousands of pages of documents, all with the important task of laying out for the American people exactly what happened leading up to, on that day, and exactly what the goal was behind those who committed that horrific act of insurrection against the democracy that we're so privileged to live in.
Former President Trump, then President Trump, impeached over the events of January 6th. Republicans argue we've been there, done that. At the end of the day, do you believe that once again Americans will see proof that in your judgment he was directly culpable for those events? And what about those who say this is just a do-over?
Well, I'm not sure what the conclusion is going to be, but I don't understand, and I'm puzzled, frankly, by anyone who would suggest that we don't have an obligation to lay out clearly everything that happened that day, particularly those of us who were in the Capitol, who were threatened firsthand by these insurrectionists. So I don't know what the conclusion is going to be, but I do know that the January 6th committee is, in a bipartisan way, is going to lay out a very clear story about what happened that day, about the great risk that our democracy faced, with the goal that we should all share, frankly, of making sure that we do everything that we have to and everything that we can do to protect our democracy and the peaceful transfer of power so that it's never challenged the way that it was that day and night again.
Congressman Deutch, the president, now former president's supporters have said it's a witch hunt, it's a do-over, it's a distraction from issues they say that Americans really care about, namely their pocketbooks. It's just another effort they offer or suggest to go after the now former president. Your response to that critique?
I have to acknowledge it's puzzling and it is sad that anyone would call the effort to understand exactly what happened a witch hunt. I mean, this is something that played out in front of all of our eyes. This is something, as we've talked about, my experience on January 6th, and the fear that I and people watching and reaching out to me felt all throughout Palm Beach County and throughout Florida and throughout the country. We've learned bits and pieces here and there since then, but I have no idea why anyone would object to getting to the bottom of exactly what happened unless they're worried about where the accountability is ultimately going to lie. And that's really what this is about, is making sure that we understand what happened and that there's full accountability. We've already seen a massive number of indictments, but it's important that we have accountability. It's important that there's justice, and it's important that we do everything we can to strengthen our democracy coming out of this. And by the way, the other suggestion that you just made, that some are making, is frankly offensive. And the fact that some of my colleagues suggest we're not doing anything about the important issues in this country, when yesterday, they stood on the House floor and said that there is no reason for the United States House of Representatives to take action to stop the scourge of gun violence. That's outrageous. You cannot simultaneously say we're not doing anything important and then try to block the most important thing that we've done, which was passing that bipartisan legislation yesterday.
Congressman Deutch, we'll take up that topic in depth at another time. We appreciate your time. Again, the hearing's getting underway now, and Democrats argue that once again, the now former president will be very much at the center of that debate and discussion. We appreciate you being with us this night. Congressman Ted Deutch from South Florida. Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much.
Meanwhile, I've been seeking an on-camera interview via phone, email, and text from local Republican U.S. Representative Brian Mast. So far, no response, but we keep reaching out. I did have a chance to speak late today with Michael Barnett, chairman of the Palm Beach County Republican Party.
Thank you very much, Michael. I'm with the millions of Americans who believe that it is not pivotal. I will not be tuning in. I won't be wasting my time. I have other things that are much more important. But I do think Americans should remember where they were and what they were doing on January 6th, 2021. They were actually paying $2.38 a gallon for gas, which is half the national average for a gallon of gas today. That's what people are mostly concerned about, how this economy, how Joe Biden's economy is hurting them in their pocketbooks and making it difficult to take care of their families. They don't care about this farce that's taking place in Washington. It's ridiculous that we have an impeachment of a president based on almost no evidence, and then a year and a half later, they want to conduct an investigation. That's kind of like shooting first and asking questions later. And I think it's nothing more than the Democrats' painfully obvious ploy to distract from the coming crushing electoral defeat in November based on Joe Biden's terrible economy, his unpopularity, and the fact that Americans are sick and tired of it.
Mr. Barnett, Democrats will argue that's straight out of the Republican messaging playbook preceding and during this hearing. And some would argue, and you're certainly a respected, highly respected political voice in the community, would say your comment, at least your critics, cavalier. Here's what Mitch McConnell said about what you dismissed a day or so after the assault on the Capitol. Quote, "There's no question, none, that President Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of that day. The people who stormed the building believed they were acting on the wishes and instruction of their president, and having that belief was a foreseeable consequence of the growing crescendo of false statements, conspiracy theories, and reckless hyperbole, which the defeated president kept shouting into the largest megaphone on planet Earth." Hardly seems something that's not worth our attention.
Mitch McConnell is a respected leader in Washington. However, among the grassroots, I don't know one single Republican or average citizen who really cares what he has to say. People are seriously hurting in this economy. I think they're going to be paying more attention to what's going on with the championship finals, how they're going to find baby formula. Personally, I have family who are still looking for baby formula on the shelves. Have you ever even heard of a baby shortage, a baby formula shortage? It's ridiculous. Rhetoric aside, talking points aside, this is not something that concerns me or anyone I know. I don't know anyone's going to be tuning into this farce of a hearing. It's ridiculous. And we're going to be focusing as Republicans on getting Republicans elected in November and participating in a major electoral victory for our side.
So, in a sharply polarized political environment, sharply divergent opinions that you've just heard. We'll continue to seek local reaction across the spectrum as the televised hearings get ready to take center stage in Washington, D.C., and will be greeted by different responses from one television, smartphone, or social media tweet across the country.